Welcome to the Retirement Evolved podcast with certified financial fiduciary Adam Bruno.
There it is.
There it is. Huh? That one time every week that you know, hey, I'm a real guy.
It is me. I knew I existed. Yeah.
It's like Steve Martin in The Jerk, right? When the phone book comes out, I'm somebody. My name's in print.
He never gets enough credit. You ever heard him play the banjo? He's amazing. Man. And the man doesn't age. He's looked the same for 40 years.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I mean, he's looked the same.
Yeah. I mean, he looked old early, and then he's just been that way for.
Yeah, it's like a Benjamin Button thing.
Right, for the rest of his career. Oh,
he tricked us all. He kept that gray hair just to make sure that he never looked older. That was probably smart.
You know what? It's working for him. But
it is.
But you're right. He's an incredible banjo player. Just an amazing musician, actually. So good stuff.
He went through the pandemic, and I used to get through the pandemic because he would make YouTube videos, out on his property, just playing the banjo, just to make everybody feel better. I thought that was great.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, thank you very much for listening. This is the Retirement Evolved podcast. He is Adam Bruno, certified financial fiduciary, private wealth manager, and the founder and president of Evolution Retirement Services. I'm Bill Seller. I get to hang out with him every week as we talk about things pertaining to retirement and other facets of what's going on around the world right now. And again, as always, if you like the podcast or would like to hear more, please hit your like, subscribe, follow, whichever button you have on your podcast player. And we'd be more than appreciative if you would do that. And, a lot of stuff going on, man. First time we gotten together since the midterms.
It is. It's crazy.
But hang on, because they'll be finally counted here pretty soon. So,
I was going to say, are we done yet?
I think so. I don't know.
And is it the outcome that everybody expects?
I don't know.
I got to tell you, Bill, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. But I'm going to tell you what happened. I was in Disney this weekend for my birthday with the kids. And
happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm 41 now. It's officially over. 41.
I'm in my 40s.
The warranty's gone. So Austin and I were, at the end of the day, we were in the hot tub. And, just hanging out, having a good time, and we were talking about college and everything. And we started talking to this guy that lives in Michigan, and he was an engineer, so he was a little bit weird. I'm sorry, engineers. You all are a little bit weird if you got to do that job every day, right? Yeah. So he's telling us about the new Ford Raptor that he's building. Another guy comes in and sits in the hot tub next to me and doesn't say much, but we start striking up a conversation. Well, he's from Pittsburgh, and somehow we ended up getting back onto the elections, the midterm elections. And he was telling me that they don't even check ID in Pennsylvania. And again, this is what he's telling me. He said that they don't even check ID, and the way they do it is like a roll call list of all the people that live in that area. And if you know somebody's not voting, you can go to a different spot and just use somebody else's name. Like, it's crazy. There's no. And you think about our Florida process. When I went to vote, all I did was give her my ID. They had this whole electronic system set up to show that, no, I hadn't been there. Yes, I'm good to go. Here we go. Go vote. Here's your, and you're in and you vote.
Right.
Well, how can every state not be responsible enough to do that? I mean, it seems like they're worried about suppression for people that don't have IDs. Well, why the heck are you walking around without an ID? Well, what's going on here?
Yeah, and not only that, but you can get a voter ID if you want one. They have those, and
yeah.
So I've never understood, and this is long before the stuff we've been going through the last few elections, but I've never understood why there isn't just one system for the whole country, right?
Right.
Especially on presidential election years, because to me that would make sense. I know you're in Florida. We're doing this by the magic of the internet. I live in Georgia, and when we're done, we have a ballot that prints out. And then we take it to another machine and it scans the ballot in for you, right?
Right.
And to me, how that isn't getting counted instantaneously, and they know by the time you close, who's been through and who's voted and who got what vote. Look, I don't understand the system. I may never, but it just seems to me that it can definitely be tightened up a little bit in different places.
Well, and you talk about, listen, this is all the retirees are talking about this. We're not talking about anything that isn't a hot topic right now, but the reality is this: when you can drop off a truckload of votes on the day of and say, okay, go ahead and count these. Like in Florida, we have a process to it. If it's an absentee ballot, if it's not in the office on election day, then it doesn't get counted. It was just on the news. They had a little stack about 12 inches of votes that weren't going to get counted because they didn't get there in time. These other states are saying, well, if it's postmarked by this date, No, come
No.
on, man. I mean, what could you imagine our founding fathers with this system and what they'd be saying? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's crazy.
We've gone from election day almost to like election month, right? As they
election
continue-
month.
As they count
election
things.
month.
Yeah, so
Oh, it's crazy.
It is. It is. And
is it any surprise that what's happening is happening then? Because I don't feel like the vast majority of Americans are being heard right now. And I think that this voting system is a big part of the problem. And I've said it since before the last election.
Right.
You've said it a long
yeah,
time,
yeah,
too.
it's definitely, it's not a perfect system by any means, but I mean, so a lot has to be looked into, I think. And the worst part for those of us that live here in Georgia is that now with everything decided, we still have 4 more weeks of Warnock and Walker commercials we have to watch. So,
oh God,
when you get
poor
right
guys
because of the runoff, so now.
The runoff. Yeah. So how are they going to do that? What are they doing with that?
It happens in 4 weeks. So early December, there will be another election, and then things should hopefully be decided by then.
So another set of, for the runoff, it should be like sudden death. Listen, we tried it this way. Everybody get your butt to the polls and vote if you want. This is how we're going to do it,
well,
right?
they're telling folks you got 4 weeks, and this will be the day.
Okay.
And so
so they have to go to the polls then.
Well, I don't know. You know what? I can't swear to that. I don't know how that actually works. I just know that December 6th is the actual day.
But don't you think that makes sense?
Well, yeah, I do. Well,
that's why they're not going to do it that way because it makes too much sense.
There you go. There you go. But anyway. Like, it's not a perfect system, but it's the best one we've got, right? That's what you have to tell people.
Don't you have anything fun for us to talk about? Let's talk about something fun.
Actually, I do.
Oh, good.
Do you ever eat at Chipotle?
I do. I love Chipotle.
So,
a nice burrito at Chipotle.
Yes. Did you remember a few weeks ago we were talking about Walgreens experimenting with robot pharmacists? Remember?
Oh, God.
I think we talked about that.
Say it. Don't say it.
Well,
Chipotle's going to robot people?
Well, at least to make your chips, your tortilla chips.
Oh, okay.
As a matter of fact, the machine is called Chippy. Yeah,
Chippy.
Oh
my God,
that's engineering humor.
There it is. Yeah, that's their humor. That's exactly it. I'm sorry, I'm not banging on engineers today, but they should appreciate the humor a little bit.
At the risk of sounding that way, actually, one of my best friends is an engineer. But and I give him grief about that all the time. But anyway, yeah. Next time you visit Chipotle, your tortilla chips could be made by a robot. It's being tested right now in their test kitchen, and it's apparently saving a lot of time. And I thought this was ironic in a way. The first one of them that's going to work will be actually in the Los Angeles area. And if I think back, wasn't that the area that complained the most about minimum wage?
Yes, it was.
Well, here's your answer, folks.
Here's the answer.
Yeah,
we got Chippy for you. You don't like it? Okay, we'll hire Chippy. He'll do it.
So,
thank God it's only chips, though, Bill. Could you imagine a robot trying to wrap one of those burritos after it's been populated by the whole row of garnishments? Oh my God, those burrito wrappers should get paid overtime for the amount. I get it, and I'm just like, wow, this is truly a work of art. How did they do this?
I don't know how
they roll
I've tried to do it at home myself, and it just does. That's why I go to Chipotle.
A horrendous failure when we do it at home, right? Then we just got to get the fork and accept it. But now you go to Chipotle and they restore hope in the burrito.
Yeah,
it really is true.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
It's a beautiful thing. Well, I did want to start out the show today, though, by asking you this, since we were just talking about elections. Right after that, on November 10th, was the best day since 2020 for the markets, right? The S&P, NASDAQ, the Dow, everybody was way up that day. And there was a report on CNBC I saw that, said the encouraging numbers came after the consumer price report for October. So I guess technically it had nothing to do with the midterms.
Yeah, I would lean more towards the CPI.
Okay.
But
now, the question is, though, is this like hey, we had a great day, or are things starting to cool down a little bit, inflation-wise?
Well, and anybody who wants it, we have, you can email us for it, Adam at evolutionretirementservices.com or Warren at evolutionretirementservices.com. First Trust did a wonderful pre- and post-election kind of like webinar and explaining a lot of these questions that you're asking. I think what it comes down to is we just have to accept the fact that we're probably going to be a split government right now. And in a split government, history has shown us that the market actually does do pretty well in a split government. So, there's going to be opportunity everywhere, of course, in different sectors and the market's going to do what it always does. Certain sectors are going to outperform, But I will answer your question with I have hope that we might see some upticks, especially, last podcast, I think we talked about, was it $109 billion being spent for the holidays or whatever it was?
Yeah, some insane
crazy
number, right? Yeah.
Yeah, just insane number. So
I think that was just for Halloween, by the way.
Yeah, that was right. Because I remember thinking, geez, who's spending this much money on Halloween?
Yeah, that was just...
no, I have hope. I think.
Well, that's good because, that's all we all have right now, right? I mean, that's all we can have. And without that, man, things would be really bleak. But that's interesting because not too long ago you were saying, well, I think it's going to hang around longer than people think. So maybe this was a good sign that we can hang around.
Oh, I don't have any hope for inflation. I don't have any hope for inflation. I have some hope for the market. I just think that there's too much on the sidelines right now. We talked about this a couple of podcasts ago with the amount of cash that's on the sidelines, things like that, people that are cashing out. I just don't think that that's sustainable. So I did have hope for the market because obviously the market is emotion driven, and the longer people sit in cash with this high inflation rate, the more nervous they get, and it's going to force them to start investing, right? Whether they want to or not, because well, crap, I don't want to lose 9% this year in inflation. So I don't have any hope for inflation. I still think that we're probably a year or two away from that stabilizing, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, well, and that kind of leads me to my next question, which is, as much as we hate to think about it during the holidays, it is also tax season, right? People getting ready for year-end tax planning. And then that leads me to what I think you were just talking about, tax loss harvesting.
Right.
Barron's wrote an article and pinpointed some stocks that they think could be vulnerable. So I got three questions for you there. For those that are listening and may not know, what is tax loss harvesting? Which stocks do you think are likely to be targeted, and are there opportunities to make some money here?
Yeah, I think the biggest opportunity to make money is harvesting some of those losses with a Roth conversion, because you are, since you're already down, converting when you get to take the ride back up. When we take that ride back up, which always happens, right? It's like a roller coaster. We go up, we go down. When we take the ride back up, it'll all be tax-free if it's inside the Roth. We won't owe anybody anything. It's our money. So this idea of tax loss harvesting, a Roth conversion is a great way to do that. Again, you have to be careful because you don't want to add too much to your income. You have to be careful planning it out. It's not something you just do and say, okay, I'm going to convert $200,000 to Roth. But the idea of, I'll give you a perfect example. I had a family member, client that we have here, down over $600,000. Monster portfolio, though. I mean, he has like a $12 million portfolio. But the idea was, if you're down that much, he was excited as heck because it gave him the opportunity to do a little bit more Roth conversion since it was down. So that's this idea of turning chicken crap into chicken soup, right? I mean, that's the idea there. So tax loss harvesting, it comes into play multiple ways, but that's one popular way right now. I think that's probably the one that would probably be the most effective, is that conversion aspect with your IRA money. Now, with your other money that is an IRA, obviously you have losses that you can carry forward. So if you decide to pay some of your taxes from some of the money, like your qualified funds that you lost money in, you can carry forward some of the losses as well. So there's always ways that you can balance it out. Again, the best way to do it, though, is not do it by yourself. Have a CPA. Ask us if you want, or have your own CPA. Have somebody that you can talk to about it, because you don't want to do it on your own.
That could be your next book, Chicken Crap to Chicken for the Soul.
The next book is going to have the same title as this one. It's going to be called They Lied, but I'm going to call the subtitle The Trouble with Bonds. I had this idea in mind for 3 to 5 books, all titled First They Lied, and then the first one was The Real Cost of Your Retirement. That kind of went over the general stuff. And then I wanted to write a few more that just went maybe like 50 to 75 pages that just went into detail on a couple of things that I also feel like we lied about. Bonds being safe, number one. I mean, that's obviously, how'd that work out this last 2 years? So, I wanted to write and the new Kiplinger article, I just spoke to the person who's helping me with it yesterday, Kim. She's wonderful. I actually just send her gobbledygook. I send everything that's in my head. She reformats it, then I edit it with her, then we go over it. So
oh my
I like
God, I hope you're paying
process.
her a lot.
She's great. She's great.
If you're just sending your blank thoughts.
No, she gets it. You know what I mean? She's one of us. She gets it.
Yeah.
So the new Kiplinger article is going to be titled the income stream that nobody is talking about, and we're going to specifically talk about barrier notes, which is another great way to possibly tax harvest, because if you have a barrier note set up with a 30% barrier on the S&P, as long as the S&P 500 doesn't go down more than 30%, they're going to pay you a 10% cash flow. So you get that. So if you have, $120,000, you're going to get $1,000 a month, and then at the end of the year, you're going to get your $120,000 back. So, those are all ways that you could potentially harvest. It's just, there's things that nobody's really talking about right now, because I got to tell you, the advisor, air quote, world has gotten very comfortable with the typical way of doing things, the traditional way of doing things. And we don't live in traditional times anymore, especially when it comes to retirement and our finances. We're in a war, Bill. I mean, this is what it is right now. That's the equivalent. I mean, everybody's drawing sides. We're at war, especially in retirement.
Yeah, we are. And this is a lot of what Adam talks about, not just in his book, but in the stuff he's writing for Kiplinger, and all these things that you can find on his website, taxfreefortmyers.com. Make sure you spell out Fort. Tax-free, FORTMYERS.com. And again, the book is called They Lied, The Real Cost of Retirement. You can find more podcasts on there. You can find his Kiplinger article on there, and a lot of other white papers that are really helpful when you're starting to think about retirement or the strategy that you have for retirement. And if you can't find stuff on there that's answering your questions, reach out to them. You can find more ways to contact Adam and his team at evolutionretirementservices.com or taxfreefortmyers.com, or you can give them a call, and that number is 866-838-3765. Adam will talk to you and answer questions, and you may wind up working together, you might not, but that's a beautiful thing. He'll at least answer your question for you.
Yeah, and again, just to clarify that, we don't, I say it every podcast, we don't work with everybody directly that we come into contact with, but we try to help everyone that comes into contact with us. And yes, we identify families that could potentially use our services and we can work with directly, but the name of the game here for me is how many people can we help? Because it's not a big shift in our business model to go from this actively looking for couples and families to identify that we can work with. Well, we shifted that model a couple years ago to, hey, why don't we just try to help everybody? And that way we will eventually find people we can work with, but more importantly, people are going to get the help they need, and they're going to have something nice to say about us. Because I think that goes a lot longer and a lot farther than just, traditional marketing strategies of trying to identify families who we can work with and selling them things and doing that doesn't work anymore. I think helping somebody and sharing the information is more important. And yes, and by doing that good deed, I feel like we've had a lot of return on our investment when it comes to, what we put out there in the universe.
So again, the phone number to reach out to Adam is 866-838-3765, or find out more at evolutionretirementservices.com. Adam, it's always a pleasure. I do want to leave you with this thought, though. One more little wacky thing on the way out the door here.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you saw this, but there's a new trend for folks getting married these days. Ladies are searching. One of the biggest Google searches is black wedding dresses.
Really?
Yeah, that search is actually surpassing the one for white dresses. In fact, the demand is so high right now that you're familiar with David's Bridal Shop, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They're actually starting to stock them.
I mean, it's appropriate, right? I mean, you're getting married. It's black dresses.
No, Adam, no, that's not why I said that.
Boy, I hope our wives don't listen to this.
I
punished them on the way to Orlando, though. We always listen to the podcast and they make fun of me.
That's your call, pal. Honey, I didn't say that. Listen, man, always a pleasure. Have a great week and a happy Thanksgiving.
You too, Bill. God bless. God bless everyone. Thanks for listening. And until next week, stay safe out there.
Absolutely. Again, before we head out, please hit your like, subscribe, submit, follow, whatever the button says on your podcast player. We'd very much appreciate it. And as always, thanks for listening to the Retirement Evolved podcast with certified financial fiduciary, Adam Bruno.
That's me.
Investment advisory services are offered through Evolution Wealth Management Incorporated, an investment advisor registered with the state of Florida. Registration does not imply any level of skill or training. Evolution Wealth Management's unique CRD number is 307644. You can obtain a copy of Evolution Wealth Management's firm brochure, Form ADV Part 2A, free of charge by visiting advisorinfo.sec.gov. Evolution Wealth Management offers investment advisory services only, where it is appropriately registered or exempt from registration, and only after clients have entered into an investment advisory agreement confirming the terms of engagement and have been provided a copy of the firm's ADV Part 2A. Insurance services are provided by Evolution Retirement Services. Any guarantees mentioned are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company and may be subject to restrictions, limitations, or early withdrawal fees, which vary by the issuer. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. You should consider the charges, risks, expense, and investment objectives carefully before entering a contract. This material has been prepared for informational purposes only and should not be construed as a solicitation to affect or attempt to affect either transactions in securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice. This material is not intended to provide and should not be relied on for tax, legal, accounting, or other financial advice. Evolution Wealth Management and Evolution Retirement Services do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. You should consult your own tax, legal, and accounting advisors before engaging in any transaction. Evolution Wealth Management and Evolution Retirement Services are affiliated entities.